Welcome to Vote for the Music, the Eurovision podcast.
I'm Jack Collison.
And I'm Callum Bowen.
I hope this contest can live up to its promise and continue to stand for peace and dignity for every person.
This is Vote for the Music, the Eurovision podcast.
Hi and welcome back. So the first semi-final of Eurovision 2025 is done, and we have 10 qualifiers heading to Saturday's grand final. Let's recap the lucky 10, shall we? Qualified for the grand final were Kyle Alessandro from Norway with Lighter, Shkodra Electronica from Albania with Zierm, Kai from Sweden with Bara Bada Bastu, Vibe from Iceland with Roa, Claude from the Netherlands with Sailor V, Justina Stechkowska from Poland with Gaia, Gabri Ponte from San Marino with Total Italia, Tommy Cash from Estonia with Espresso Macchiato, Napa from Portugal with Deslacado, and Zifablat from Ukraine with Bird of Prey. That means that we sadly lost. Clement from Slovenia with How Much Time Do We Have Left, Red Sebastian from Belgium with Strobe Lights, Mama Garma from Azerbaijan with Run With You, Marko Bosniak from Croatia with Poison Cake, and Teo Evan from Cyprus with Shh. Now Jack is on the ground in Basel, so let's pass over to him to get the reaction there from just outside of the arena.
Hi, and yes, I'm here in Basel, on the ground, and the first semi-final of the 69th Eurovision Song Contest has just finished. No press centre for me this year, but I'm not deterred, as I'm here just to do my best to describe the feelings here. Overall, to be honest, there's a sense of utter shock, disbelief and laughter at both Belgium and Cyprus missing out on the final this year. Cyprus, some people had on the cards to non-qualify, but Belgium, I don't think anybody expected this, right up until the moment it happened. That's now 2 years in a row that Belgium have been in the top 5 in the odds to win the contest, and then failed to qualify from their semi-final. First Musty, and now Red Sebastian. I'm sure there are frantic conversations going on at VRT right this very moment. Whether you like Strobe Lights or not, you have to feel for Red Sebastian himself, as today was his birthday. Moving on to Cyprus, and this was pretty much expected to sail through because of the running order and the incredibly well-engineered stage show from Sergio Jaén of Doomsday Blue fame. However, like with Red Sebastian, a weak performance from Teo Evan seems to have killed its chances. Also, Shush as a song has always been divisive in the fandom and certainly perceived to be a lot poorer in quality than Strobe Lights was, for example. Both of them could have equally cancelled each other out. Due to the similarity in genre though, what I'm seeing here in Basel is that people are thrilled to see both San Marino and Iceland in the final. 2 qualifiers that were probably less expected, but positivity is super high and people are so happy they're through. I know Vibe themselves in particular didn't think for a second they'd make it, so everyone is over the moon for them. As for the show, it was a great watch and everyone seems to have loved it. The intervals all worked and were executed in a way Malma only could have dreamed of. Plus Hazel and Sandra seemed far better at managing the show than perhaps Marlin was last year. Of course, it was wonderful to see Petra back, for some reason in the guise of William Tell, but it was a great crowd pleaser, and it's heartwarming to see her physically able to do it. There's so much to talk about. I could go on for hours, but I'm going to now hand over to myself from earlier in the day, talking about something else entirely of vast importance. So, let's rewind to this afternoon and have a listen to what I had to say. So, breaking news. You might remember in the last podcast, I spoke at length about the EBU's new accreditation procedures and just general rules for press, and how it's actively eroding and silencing free speech. Well, in the last few hours, there's been a big development. Our friend Toby Eck at Aftenbladet was at Martin Green's press conference and put the question to him. To quote, Toby asked, To become a member of the EBU, broadcasters must produce free and independent journalism. But to get accreditation for Eurovision, you demand that we journalists write off our right to produce free and independent journalism. How can you defend that? Green responded by saying, "It's easy, because I don't think we have done that. We ask you to follow our code of conduct. It's very clear that we believe in free speech, so I don't think there's any part where we tell you what you can say." Toby then put a further question to him. The media manual states, content must not be offensive or damage the reputation of Eurovision or the EBU. Isn't this an attempt by the EBU to try to stop accredited journalists from doing investigative and relevant journalism about the contest and its organisers, and a way to make smaller media afraid of not getting accredited if they dare to ask critical questions? Green's response was brief. No. That's all he said. No. Toby pushed again and asked, why has the EBU denied accreditation to respected journalists based on the questions they have asked at previous years' press conferences? He was obviously referring to journalists such as ESC Gabe, or people perhaps like myself who was accredited in previous years, or like Benjamin who was accredited for Vote for the Music the last 2 years. Green's response was a firm denial. That's not true. The only reason is that we have had to limit the number, and we can't have everyone here, unfortunately. Toby pushed back and asked again, but Green only gave a similar answer. Now Green's responses here seem the usual thing we get from the EBU. Lies, denials, gaslighting, and a censorship of the truth. However, in the time since the article was posted to Aftonbladet only about an hour ago, the EBU responded and announced they were backing down and changing the rules for next year. All it took was for one mainstream outlet, in this case a national Swedish tabloid, to put any of the bullshit the EBU have been coming out with recently under any sort of scrutiny, and they fold instantly, within an hour. It would be funny if it wasn't so pathetic. We obviously thank Toby for what he's done, but for Martin Green to be going from saying firm denials with language such as "that's not true," and then for them to backtrack and U-turn an hour later, that says a lot.
Thanks for both those insights, Jack. It's a late night, so I hope you enjoy Euroclub while I enjoy getting some sleep back here in Wales. I would have to agree with much of Jack's thoughts of tonight's show. I thought it was overall a good production, and obviously the Swiss know how to make a quality television broadcast. I really enjoyed the host, especially Hazel. She was genuinely funny, so a nice breath of fresh air after last year. If you had to ask me who's winning, I'm leaning toward either France, Switzerland or Albania, but who knows what can happen. See you all on Thursday, and remember to vote for the music.
Vote for the Music, the Eurovision podcast, is a production by Benjamin Windybank and Tadeusz Chiswak. The theme music was produced by Joe Telt and Benjamin Windybank, based upon a composition by Michael Nekrasov. Thank you for listening, and remember to vote for the music.